All right, and we're live. This one's going to be fun. This one's going to be a lot of fun. Okay. Anyone who tunes in and watches this, appreciate your support, appreciate your understanding, appreciate your belief. Okay. I'm just going to actually grab my Lucky Charms and then let's get going. Okay, let's do this. Okay. All right, music and vámonos. Okay. Right. Let's do this. Sometimes we get stuck in wondering if the way we live, the way things are, the way we operate, it always has to be that way. But if it can change, if I told you that there's no reason or point in debating, and all that matters is understanding. And that's what today's about. You can understand 3 different perspectives. Uh, Consideration. It's not facts, it's consideration. Could the world be the way I'm saying? I'm actually gonna take a quick break just for a minute. Short break. Right back. Sorry about that. When you're talking about these kind of topics, pay attention. It's not a coincidence that this is happening right now. Everything that's going on right now is not a coincidence. We are trying to stop it. Perfect. All right. I'm back. Appreciate anyone who's tuned in. Sometimes there's just things that need to write. All right, let's get started. Here we go. Some infiltration. Okay, here we go. 3, 2. Have you ever begun to question what happens when we finally say no more? We think those words are so simple, yet in fact, they are the most powerful words and spell that you can use in this world. The moment you say no more, it's over. You do what I call no longer tolerating your reality. The moment you cease to tolerate your reality changes. Think about that. We each have the power to change our realities within us. So let me ask you something. What would happen if all of humanity, or the majority of humanity, stood together, united, and collectively sang a song that said, no more? That is what will happen today, Sunday, November 3rd, 2024. It is the beginning of a new world because all of humanity finally wake up and realize what is going on and understand that it's not so much about the facts. It's about considering what it could be and starting to piece it together. Because at the end of the day, none of us will ever know 100% everything. And even the ones who are closest to knowing the truth will be missing percentage here and percentage here. And I ask you, you're 99% correct, but 1% is off. Yet the underlying facts, lessons, whatever you want to call them, are all accurate. Does it really matter if you said, hey, well, the glass is 10 inches, but it's glass and you can drink out of it, but it actually was 11 inches. You still drink out of it, it's still glass, you just off. Like, you see, like, if you're off, if something is off, it doesn't really impact the overall story or the lesson. It doesn't matter. Now, it's just about consideration. So, what delayed the beginning of this stream and this recording was something that I would call, and for everyone to understand, smoke and mirrors. So we've all heard the term, and if you haven't, then I'm glad to be the first one to introduce it to you. Think of it as a magician. We go into a magic show, and we're looking to be entertained, to be surprised, to experience something. So how does a magician do it? Well, maybe some of them do have real magic, but the majority, they rely on what we call smoke and mirrors. So think of it as there's a magician in the outside world. Everything outside of your castle. We're now on for people who are it's the first time hearing this. Your castle is your home. Your castle is your room. Your castle is your apartment, whatever that is. It's a safe place where you protect it from outside noise. Now they can get in. Things can get in through psychic attacks, mental attacks, noise nudges. Think of it as ads, TV shows that pop up that you didn't choose, things of that nature, right? But in general, you're fairly protected when you're inside. When you're outside, you're not. It's fair game. So what if I told you that as you're navigating outside, there's a magician that is constantly crafting spells and illusions? That's what we call it smoke and mirrors, because you can make someone believe that something's happening when in reality it's not. All you need to do is position mirrors in the right spot, activate the smoke machine, And you might think that something bad is happening. Just think about it. I could right now, if I had control over certain notifications or apps on your phone, I could send you a notification saying that there's a firestorm or a huge fire in the city next to you and that you should evacuate. And you're gonna be like, "Wait, what? It was snowing yesterday. Could this be real? Like, what is going on?" And what if you actually gather your things and evacuate? And then when you're outside, like, nothing happened. You guys see, like, you have control over specific things. You can make people believe things that aren't even happening. Now, one of the things why it's also challenging is that what if some of these illusions and some of these smoke and mirrors could actually become more real if you engage with them? What if some of them they use what I call vessels? So, for example, what if they can target your pets, your dog, and all of a sudden they start barking or they start um, peeing inside the house, and you can't understand why, but it only happens the moment you start trying to do something that will improve your life or will fight back against something that for some reason someone doesn't want. Pay attention to those things. Those are all what I call smoke and mirrors. So let's get into something that's going to lay the foundation of everything that we're talking about today, right? And I call that we're trying to discover what kind of world we live in. And the reason why we need to understand all the potential possibilities is only then can we connect dots and see, wait a minute, there's something off. But the key is, as we understand everything, then collectively we just realize, hey, there's something seriously wrong going on here. All we know is that's not the play. We're no longer going to engage with the system. We're going to talk about how. But it starts with this part. So picture this. There are things, there are entities, there are quote unquote gods that are watching us, cheering us on, supporting us, messing with us. Specifically, certain people. But in general, everyone is being observed. So think of Earth as a gladiator arena that we can enter at a certain point. The majority of us will enter it after we're done in the education system, so 16, 18, somewhere around that point. But for any of you who are watching the stream, think of it as like a stream, or watching a video game like a Let's Play, or watching a streamer on Twitch, things of that nature. So if Earth is this massive arena, or for people who might be familiar with the Hunger Games, think of it like that. You go into the Hunger Games and there's a group of people that are observing and control what events appear before you. So all of a sudden you're working too well with who was supposed to be your enemy. They can be like, okay, let's flip it. Let's start changing things. Let's start causing some issues. And the reason for that is if these people are observing you, don't you think that they want entertainment? Imagine if you were watching a TV show, your favorite TV show, and all of a sudden all the actors just refuse to play their role. You know, like, hey, I really enjoyed Friends, but for some reason, this time when I turned on Friends, like Rachel and Ross are just chilling on the couch and they literally did nothing this entire episode. Like, what happened to this episode? Like, I want the original episode. I watched it just 2 days ago. It was way better. Why are they just sitting on the couch making out or whatever? I don't know, right? I have, but you see what I mean, guys? Like, if there's no entertainment, if it's not being engaged with, if it's not active, the game has to change because otherwise it's boring. Otherwise, nothing's happening. You see, like, if there are things that are controlling, things that manipulate, things that pulling strings and watching us and observing us, maybe to try to study us, to experiment us, and try to cause certain things, whatever your belief or theory is, the point is, what happens when we say no more? You guys see how something as simple as that can completely obliterate and cause a major change for people who are struggling to even conceptualize this. Think of it as work. What would happen if all of a sudden every single Amazon employee that works at a warehouse just decided to be like, I'm not going to come in tomorrow? A lot of people would call that a strike. Hmm? So, but let's take it even a step further, right? Every single one, they're not even striking, they just refuse to show up or refuse to work. What would happen? right? I think we all know that threats would happen. Maybe there would be some violence, some shouting. You see, like there's it, it's what I call you force a response. So to cause change, you need to force a response. Otherwise, you just wait for them. And hey, I can ask you, hey, will you please treat me better at work? I'm waiting. You can wait all day. You can wait all year. You can wait a century, but it's up to them. And of course, every single boss, every single company should choose to be a better person. And that's the world that's now being created, right? We're all going to prioritize love, peace, hope, light, spreading good, helping each other out from the safety of our castles, away from the smoke and mirrors, away from the illusions. But what if we just keep waiting? Because they understand that, hey, you just asked, you didn't tell me I had to, so I can wait forever. You can wait, I can make you wait forever. And I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry, I haven't had time yet. And they're not wrong. If they just kept focusing on other stuff, they're not wrong. Do you see, like, if you just ask and wait, well, there's nothing that we can do. They can continue to just dangle the carrot in front of us, and we can just keep chasing it forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Be like, please give me my raise. You promised me 2 years ago. I'm waiting. They can keep you waiting forever. But what happens if you force a response? If everyone stopped working tomorrow or on Monday, November 5th, or sorry, Monday, November 4th, 2024, if everyone stopped going to work, what would happen to every single company? What would happen to the economy? What would happen to everything, every organization, transit? All of those things would start. You would see very quickly which industries, which areas are the most reliant on slave labor, because they would break immediately, just like that. And now what happens if one thing breaks or one thing collapses? Then there's a trickle-down effect that affects every single other thing. So you guys see how, like, literally how many places might be reliant on like truck deliveries, right, for food or whatever. If those truck drivers all said no more, or else, like, we need better conditions, we need to be taken care of better, whatever, right? It is. You see, like, if everything that's reliant on those truck deliveries now is impacted, and what if that causes negative effects in those people? Like, they're just like, no, we don't have what we need. And now maybe they're just like, you know what, screw it, I'm not going to go to work then. Now, all those things are impacted. And again, those people are going to impact other things. What if they just go home and they're like, you know what? My company sucks. They rely so much on these truck companies that don't do their job. I'm quitting, wife. I'm quitting. And now they quit. Boom. You see, like, now all of a sudden there's more. One person starting it, saying no more, and inspiring other people. And all those people doing that can literally cause a chain reaction. Do you guys see how quickly the entire game, the entire illusion, the entire smoke and mirrors can all crumble and vanish before our eyes? So I ask you, why are you afraid of doing that? What's the hesitation? If you now, as we discuss everything that's happening, I ask you, do you want to continue living in one of these three options that we're going to discuss? Like, are we living in a gladiator arena called Earth for God's entertainment? Are we living in a dream world, what we call the Odyssey or the Lotus? Or are we stuck in this never-ending cycle of slave labor? Are we basically robots and we're here just for exploitation of energy and our time? Are you content with any of those three? And if it's not those three, what are your theories? Oh, you don't talk about that? Well, why not? What are you afraid of? It's something that you should be considering, because people need to start asking questions. People will start asking questions. Humanity as a whole will begin questioning everything. You're like, wait, why is it like this? It's been like this since I was born, but why did it have to be that way? Who designed it that way? One of the things that you realize once you start getting into design theory is that everything is designed for a purpose, for a reason. And if you start working on your own creation, whether it's art, whether it's a story, whether it's a video game, music, movies, you realize that you start doing things for a specific reason. We're like, oh, well, this character needs a motivation, so I'm going to create these bad backstory moments to cause that motivation to happen. You could also cause it through good, but you see, like, all of a sudden you're like designing it. You're like, let's say you're designing a video game. Like, well, I want to now challenge the player to experience these things or learn how to utilize these skills. So I'm going to present these things. Do you guys see, like, when you're a designer, you create things, and that's why everything we experience outside is a design. Go to a furniture store. Go to the furniture store, and you will see they set up rooms. They set up essentially what I call illusions to help trigger your imagination and picture how you could set it up. And it's super helpful, right? Because we as humans have the ability to imagine and create things from out of thin air. But it's significantly harder to create from nothing than it is from taking a visual, an audio, or something written and then making it your own. Like that's the easiest way to create. Once you experience something, it's like, hey, okay, so they show you something and now you can modify it to your own taste, but you needed that initial spark. It's really hard to do so without it, but it's possible. So let's say they have a setup of a coffee shop, and you're like, is it an actual coffee shop? No, it was just they literally have like the furniture pieces and like fake plastic cups or whatever to show you how a coffee shop could look like. Maybe you're looking to buy furniture for your coffee shop. So I ask you, it looks 100% real. Like if you go to any other coffee shop around the world, they basically make it look like that. But you're in a furniture store. That means it's fake. It's an illusion. Think about that, guys. You can literally just walk through like an IKEA or one of those furniture stores and just see the rooms that they create. How is that any different than real life? Think about it. What if I told you that you are the designer and you go outside and all of a sudden, like every little store, what if it's only active when you're out there, but what if someone designed it? They're like, okay, we have to design a coffee shop here. We're going to make a bar here. It's just designed. Like, how do I want to decorate it? Like, I'll put this here. I'll put a little TV there. I'll put that there. Do you guys see like how it works? You could literally design everything, and it's like, but wait, how do you get people to go to those places? All right, and we're going to talk about that in depth, but think about it. How would you get someone to engage and interact with your design? How? Right? Like, why do you think events happen? Events are things that cause either you to go down a certain path or force you to respond as well. So if you go outside and all of a sudden a lady runs up to you and is like, hey, I lost my cat. Could you please help me? That's an event. That's an event. Now, does it always mean it's bad? Debatable. I'm now of the opinion that we shouldn't interact with any events outside until we understand more of the illusion and the extent that it goes. That's why we're stress testing it. What will happen if humanity as a whole collectively says, no, we're not playing the game anymore? They're going to have to change how the game is designed, period. So if things above us are doing it for fun, for their own enjoyment, to study us, what is it? Who knows? But think of it like this. If you're really, really struggling to conceptualize this, again, it happens with Twitch streamers, people who are streaming currently, right? People watch other people. So if it happens with just humans, why wouldn't you think it could happen between a human and something above us? Or it could be an alien, could be an ET, an Anunnaki, like who knows, right? Whatever you believe, a spirit, all those things are possible. So if we're being watched, does it mean it's necessarily bad? I don't think so. Could be actually good. It could be we're being supported. If you've been following my streams, or this is the first time, I talk a lot about that we live in a spiritual world alongside us. It's like an alternate reality, a parallel world. There's two different worlds. And now the gates have been opened. They are fully connected with us. They're literally present with me right now. And that's just reality. So if there's spiritual things that we can't see, but we can feel and we can hear and we can communicate with them, then they know they're watching us constantly. So what else could be? We don't know everything. So are they meddling with us though? Are they manipulating things? Are they fabricating illusions? Are they causing us to have dark nudges, which lead us down bad paths to bypass our free will so that they can make us have insecurities and traumas and problems? Yes, I talk a lot about that. There's a dark one that's manipulating everything. And I believe that it's the designer currently. It took over and enslaved us. And now it's the one that's designing things to cause things so that we have no time. We have no energy. We're exploited. We do its bidding. And the people who are its commanders are the ones who rise to the top of companies and things of that nature. And they've just prioritized money because money is energy and it wants energy. So things of that nature, right? I talked about that in depth, so I'm not going to get lost there again. But just think about it. Twitch streamers, follows, donations, live, people get invested in it. It's a parasocial relationship. People live vicariously through them. So if it happens like that, why can't it be happening at the metaphysical level? So it's time to figure out how to break the game. Create new rules, our terms. Why can't they help us? It's time. So we're going to begin by discussing some things that are a little more tame. Let's change the song. So let's talk about forgetting who you are, eliminating insecurity, and just believing again. So this is a short story. A wise man named Rafiki once told me that I'd forgotten who I was. All I could see in the water's reflection was an insecure little cub. So with his guidance, I looked up at the stars and I started talking to my origin story. I became aware. I understood. All of a sudden, I looked down because the star's light was shining so bright, it almost blinded me. I saw a shadow. It was not of a cub. Surely this shadow couldn't be mine, huh? But it was if we had become one. It followed me. Well, at that point, it was undeniable. Now I can't help but believe. There was a lion staring back at me. What do you see when you look at your shadow? It's time to get fully unlocked. Life becomes clear. Life becomes quiet when you heal and when you remember. So, insecurity. Insecurity is something that is created by the Dark One, by the dark forces, that literally all it takes, and I've talked a lot about this in depth in my previous recordings, is that all it takes is an event. And then after that event happens, if no one is there to snap you out of it and tell you, wait, don't even listen to that. It happens to everyone. Just relax. All it takes is one reinforcement of it, and it's created just like that. And I'm going to share a story here quickly, but I just want people to pay attention. Once it's created and they've reinforced it, now all they have to do periodically to destroy your shield and make you vulnerable to negative influences and nudges to rearrange you, to manipulate you, is just present things that will remind you of that. So that's just how easy it is for the dark spiritual side to impact you and affect you. If literally you were just on a walk and all of a sudden someone walks by and like yells like the name of your ex-girlfriend who abused you, and you're like, what? Like, oh, crap, why am I remembering her now? You see, like, that's a nudge from the spiritual forces, just so people, if this is your first time listening, that are aware. Anyway, so we need to go back and discover where that event happened. Here's a story about a soccer player who became insecure. So imagine you're an 8-year-old kiddo and you're playing on the team of your favorite sport, in this case, soccer. You were a star, the best player. You were chosen to shoot a penalty that was going to win the tournament final. It's the most important game of your life thus far. Take a deep breath. You shoot. You miss. That's it. It's over. Your team lost because you failed. It's undeniable. You missed. It was your fault. Or so you think. Now, you second guess yourself. You don't want to be the penalty taker anymore. Because what if you miss again? What if you miss again?
Doubt begins brewing within you. Something that was just pure instinct before. You were the star. And that was who you were. Now, every time you're about to kick, you pause and you think, you're like, oh, it doesn't come natural. You're not in a state of flow. And you're not just doing. What happened to you? Now, you forgot. You forgot who you were. Just like that. Just from one bad event. And all it takes is one little kiddo saying to you after you miss, like, ha, I knew you sucked. You aren't that good. That's all it takes. Now you literally can make someone permanently pause without, they never question themselves before their talent, their ability. And now every single time they're about to shoot a penalty, or maybe even worse, now as you keep playing or you're getting older, you might even avoid playing soccer entirely because of the reminders, the triggers, the missing a shot. They're just too much. You might play other sports, but every time you miss or you make a mistake, you beat yourself up. See? You suck. You failed again. Just like that penalty. You let your team down. This is proof. And for some reason, when you're playing on these teams, like whenever you miss, someone comes up to you out of nowhere. It's almost like they know. Interesting. It's almost like they know. They're like, dude, we trusted you. We relied on you. Why is it that you can never get hit the most important shot? Why do you always miss those? Boom. You're like, what? Oh no, you just remember immediately that game when you missed the penalty as a kid. Do you guys see how this works? How easy it is to, once it's created, you can nudge and you ask yourself, why would that person phrase it like that? They don't even know. If you actually ask them, like, wait, why did you say that? They're like, well, I don't know, dude, you missed. And I'm like, yeah, but why did you phrase it the way you did? Dude, what? Once you start questioning them, you can point out the absurdity of the it doesn't add up, right? It's just weird. It's unusual that they phrase it that way. It's like almost like they knew. What if I told you that they got nudged? Think of it like sometimes you like random thoughts pop into your head, or you start whistling a song, or you start singing something, or an intrusive thought pops in. That is either the light side sending you a nudge or the dark side sending you a nudge into your head, or through signs around you, or through like ads or AI or all those things. That's just how it works, guys. And the sooner you accept that reality, the sooner you can protect yourself. So there's literally people around you that they do something, and I'm just, now once you understand it, you just see it, you're like, oh gosh. But I'm like, why did you just do that? Or sometimes they're helpful things, like you didn't take your supplements or vitamins this morning, and all of a sudden, like your brother puts the supplement thing on the table, and you're like, they probably got nudged to do that for you. And I'm like, hey, did you already take your supplements? You're like, yeah. I'm like, why did you put it on the table? I'm like, I don't know. I just in case you didn't. And you're like, huh, interesting. You see, like, doesn't mean it's always bad, but you need to pay attention to that. You need to catch that. That's super, super, super important. So anyway, if you didn't have someone sit you down when that insecurity was created, when that event happened, and talk you through that specific moment, that is when the insecurity was created. That's simple. You literally need to have someone immediately snap you out of it. Be like, don't listen, wake up. It's not you. It happens to everyone. It's not a problem. It's not darkness. So that's why parents, teachers, leaders, you are literally the most important person in the world for every single person. And if you are with someone and you see someone go through something bad, because literally the world is trying to specifically children, they target you when you're young, but it doesn't mean you're immune when you're older. It's just, you have much more defenses, you're much more knowledgeable, you're much more protected from new insecurities. But the biggest area vulnerabilities are first-time experiences in anything. So the first time you're kissing a girl, danger, pay attention. Help people when they're doing first-time experiences. That's where the danger lies. First-time experiences. That's where the danger lies. I need to write that down. See? You're always learning, even you're recording live. First time experiences is what they target. Holy shit. Huh. I got you guys figured out. Security. Got it. So So you guys see, like, the process never ends. By the way, this is just this was a great learning lesson for everyone. The growth, the understanding. I literally completely consumed myself in this because I'm tired. Been saying no more for so long, but I'm tired of the world that we live in. That we truly, like, once you understand that it's fabricated, that they're intentionally causing insecurity and traumas in people, and then just trying to create scenarios for fear, and it's enough. Like, why are we satisfied living in such a world? It's so sad. It's so painful. It's so terrible. It doesn't have to be that way. It's no longer going to be that way. Period. That is what we're changing today. We're finally grouping up as one, standing together and saying no more. Did you see, like, they target first-time experiences or things that you were really good at, to try to cause doubt. So that's how they do it. They target those things. And if someone isn't there to snap you out of it, you're done for. If you're not snapped out, you're done for. So parents, teachers, friends, siblings, please, when people are doing something new, or if they've been really good at it, but something happens, a mistake happens, support them. Give them time. Give them encouragement. Please, we need to help people. We need to protect them. We cannot let the dark continue to build insecurities, fears, and traumas in people, because once it's created, it's the easiest thing in the world for them to just continue looping it back and forth. And just, they don't even have to try anymore. They just have to present simple triggers and they can cause problems. So do you guys see, like, this is my prayer, that humanity as a whole will finally wake up to realize that the most important thing is protecting each other and helping each other not get destroyed. We need to help each other. We need to care for each other. We need to love each other. Help them. Please do not let your fellow brethren become damaged. Prioritize the people closest to you right now, because if everyone does that, everyone's going to be taken care of, right? We don't need to take care of a million people. If each of us just take care of the few people around us, then we'll be okay, right? But we need ultimate focus, ultimate care right now. Do not let the people closest to you in your inner circle become insecure, fearful, or traumatized. Do everything you can to protect them. Please support them and encourage them. Okay, so the whole goal is they want you to keep feeding that insecurity. Think of it like a ravenous vampire, and it's stealing your confidence. But really what it is every time you have a shield in health, if your shield goes down, like through like these blows, and insecurity and triggers completely drains your shield in 1 second. And then now the dark things that are trying to get into your head and nudge you or send signs, like, you're now more vulnerable to all those things. Think of it like now there's an open wound. Well, what do? You usually try to put a Band-Aid on it to prevent things from getting in there, like dirt and things of that nature. So now they're like, ooh, open wound. And this guy doesn't have a Band-Aid. Now they can just put things, they can like have a rusty metal nail show up and like rub it against you. And you're like, oh my gosh. You guys see, like, that's essentially what they do. All to take your energy, because once you feel that fear, that anxiety, that trauma, that anger, that hatred, think of it like a Dementor, a Venus flytrap shows up, a Zelda hand starts to trap you and just drain your energy nonstop. And now also just creates like this fog, this haze, this toxic mist in the room, the area around you, and it starts impacting other people. And if there's other people that have the light, that have been protected, you can now get them. They all of a sudden start feeling weird because it's coming from you. Do you guys see literally the chain reaction and why it's so important to not only protect the people around us, but to protect yourself? Check out my other stuff. I talk in depth about this and how to heal and how to recover and all that stuff. But please, it's time to say no more. But imagine if someone actually told you, hey, snap out of it. We shouldn't have even let that game get to penalties. You know how many opportunities our team missed? We could blame that guy for missing that shot 20 minutes ago. It happens. Now let's take a day off and cry, because, yeah, it's sad that we lost in the final. Man, we were so close. But you know what? The next practice, we're going to do so many penalties, and you're going to be able to do them with your eyes closed. And hey, you know what? We haven't played video games together in a long time. After this practice, let's go play some video games together. You down? But anyway, the other team, they were really good, man. Like, I'm surprised we even got to penalties. Like, they pushed us. We kicked ass. Could you and I have been better? Heck yeah. We all could. See you in the car. Let's go. That's all it takes, guys. It's not a lot. That's the little paragraph, those few sentences of support, of understanding, of reframing it for people, of just making them realize that, wait a minute, it's not me. Shit happens. It's not you. It happens. I mean, once you understand it, it's so, once it's in someone and it got reinforced over and over again, it's so hard to heal and eliminate, because it becomes such a deep part of you, right? It's like, think of, like, you just keep hammering in a nail and it's in there. Eventually you can take that nail out, but think about how much harder it is if a nail is completely hammered into the wall versus if it's not fully in. If the nail is barely hammered in, you can literally just pull it out with your finger. But if it's all the way in, you have to use a tool like the hammer, and you're like, oh, okay, we've got it out. Or you might even have to destroy part of the wall to get it out. Do you see like why it's so critical? Prevention, support, encouragement, so that it never gets to that in the first place. That's all it takes, guys. Just a talk to help them realize what happened and make them realize that it just doesn't matter, especially as we continue down this discussion, this path, and we realize that, hey, everything that's happening outside might truly be just an illusion, a dream, a gladiator arena, a cycle of slavery. So if that's the case, then those events matter even less. It means that it was a fabricated event to try to cause you to feel that way. So if that's true, then you're like, screw it, it doesn't matter. You guys see, like, but even then, though, I will say, I just want to say something. Even if that's the case, it still feels real. It still feels real. And if it feels real, that's enough to make it real for you. That's enough to make it real for you. And it could destroy your entire life just because of that. I mean it. And now you're like, did it really? I'm like, yeah, because you might literally just stop living because of something like that, or you miss out on so many opportunities because of something like that. And yes, you live differently, which is not necessarily a bad thing, right? So it's something that you can call reframing a negative into a positive. That's powerful too, right? It probably did lead to some positives, but do you guys see, like, why did you have to use these challenging to master skills to just hang on? Why do we live in a world where we have to work so hard to just barely hang on and get by? Picture a reality, which is what we are creating as we speak, a world where we no longer have to do that. We're going to learn the skills to do so just in case, but we don't have to watch our backs every second and be like, oh my God, who's trying to create an insecurity or trauma in me now? It's going to be a very different world that we're going to live in. Are you guys ready? Say no more with me together. What we reinforce specifically in our children, they target our young. They target the young. Childhood trauma is literally the ultimate weapon. What we reinforce in them matters. If grades are put on a pedestal, the kids will derive all their value and worth from a stupid grade system that just doesn't matter. Of course, it's good to have a certain guiding North Star that can help people understand that they're walking the path forward, right? Like, that's important. It's called progression. But it doesn't matter, because as long as they're a little better than they were yesterday, that's it. Period. We're moving, instead of a grade system, we're moving to a progression system. Rehabilitation is the same way. Like, hey, it's not about keeping someone a prisoner in prison. It's about, are they learning the lessons do they need to be so that they can come out and be helpful and care again in society, right? It's a complete change of a perspective. Like, hey, you're not graded from F to A or like 1 to 10. Do you know more than you did yesterday? If so, perfect. That's all that matters. That's the world that we're going to live in. That's the world that we are now living in. If we only compliment and encourage people on their looks, now that child is going to derive all their worth from attention and compliments. Doesn't mean that they're not beautiful, but I talked in an earlier episode that beauty ideals can be manipulated and fabricated. We could over time change every single beauty ideal if we worked on it collectively as humanity for the next 30 days. We could literally change what people consider attractive. Yes, it's going to take some rewiring, but you guys see, I just want people to understand that it's fabricated. You can literally make people feel a certain way. So please help people, encourage them, talk to them. But imagine that girl. Her looks were everything. And then she got a scar on her perfect face. And now kids started making fun of her. And he stopped complimenting her. That's it. She's doomed. She's insecure. She's going to now just be a fear, insecurity, trauma machine. Literally her entire life. Because you built her up so much that's her entire value, entire worth. I mean, just think about it. For people who their entire value is their job, corporate. All you have to do is fire them and you destroyed them. So pay attention to the things why they push you and try to define you with one thing, that all your value and all your worth is that. Because guess what? All it takes then is to destroy that one thing and you're done. It's a vulnerability. It's time to break the cycle. Remember, people. When you look at the stars, you remember. When you look at your undeniable shadow, you believe. They made you forget. So think about it like this. Why are we putting all our value on one performance? Why are we judging ourselves on the things that are not our strength? Again, go again, try again. You got to remove the mental block first. You can't heal from insecurity if you're stuck, if you have no time, especially if it's a toxic job. So do this. This is my prayer for humanity as they realize and wake up. Quit your toxic job. It's a human ranch. Your corporation, that business that you're stuck in, that environment, think about it. They create that fear, that hurt, that problem. They literally just are creating those dementors, those dark entities that are just draining people and causing other problems. Just quit. So how? Understand the feasibility of things. Yes, the government, banks, landlords, things of that nature, they are all going to help make things cheaper. Prices will be cheaper. Rent and mortgages are going to be waived. There's going to be deferrals, things of that nature. Government's going to send checks to help people do the great hibernation, the arc that we talked about. It's time. We're preparing for it. People are going to stay at home and shelter in place in their castle, not out of fear, but out of love and hope, to give themselves time to heal, to focus on eliminating their insecurities, their traumas, and so that we can stop engaging with the system, break it, and then come back out into the outside world. And now the game has been redesigned. That's the goal. So for the people, as all those things start happening, the most important thing is you don't be 100% reliant on all those things. Make sure that you're okay without it. Yes, the government's going to help you. Yes, landlords and apartments and all those things are going to help with rent and mortgages, and food costs are going to drop, and water and electricity costs are going to be waived. Things of that nature, absolutely. But you have to understand the feasibility of it. So do you have savings right now? As we're moving away from a society that's reliant on money, right? But as of right now, that's in the process of happening. We're not there yet, but it's happening as we speak. Every single day, it's improving, it's getting closer. So if you have savings, okay, do you have a 401k? Take it out. Can you sell stuff if you need to? Can you minimize payments? And honestly, here's the interesting one. Just stop paying things. Just stop. Just stop. Stop paying it. If they don't want to help us, if they're not going to help us with our rents, our mortgages, and things of that nature, our bills, then stop paying it. What happens if everyone stops paying their credit card bills? Stop paying your credit card bills. Stop. Just stop. Do not engage with those systems any longer. Do not pay any of those things anymore. But that also means that don't take it the wrong way. That doesn't mean just buy a million things and stop. Just stop. Bare necessities, minimal things. Just all you're trying to do is survive. We're not looking to exploit other companies either, right? Like that's otherwise we're no better than them. So figure out how to make sure that your castle, your apartment, your home is ideal. So what do I mean by that is, like, for example, I recommend that everyone looks into buying video games right now. It's a great way for entertainment, but movies and books, like you could buy a PlayStation 5, a Nintendo Switch, or maybe if you prefer like a laptop, we should all move away from our phones anyway, turn them off, move back to computers. Because what you're going to find is that you're not going to be as obsessive with scrolling on a computer screen as a phone. Who knows the exact science behind it, but there's something about phones that makes you much more addicted to doing that rather than a computer. Just you don't have the same tendencies. Like if you're someone who's addicted to browsing Reddit on your phone, try it on the computer. I promise you're going to do it less. Check it out. So humanity as a whole is going to be moving more towards computers again, back to that. And that way we can also communicate virtually across the stars. But people will play more video games together. If you're living with people, your family, friends, things of that nature, if you haven't ever played video games before, try it. There's a lot of collaborative games. There's great story games. Co-op is what you can play with people in the same room. You can learn teamwork. There's a lot of valuable lessons from those story games that talk about a lot of the things that I'm talking about. And there's great music, and people can explore things that they've never explored before. And for the amount of time that you get for the cost, it's one of the best cost per entertainment value there is. You could buy like a $30, $40 game and it could last you 200 hours. Think about that, guys. That's a breakfast if you go out. See? And on one movie for the same price is 2-3 hours. Doesn't mean that the movie's not incredible, but just think about that, guys. Right now, what we're looking to do is, for the least amount of money possible, how long can we stay in our home, learning, growing, being happy, having fun, doing things we love, doing things we enjoy. So for example, like put on YouTube. Yes, it's free. Yes, we want to minimize the amount of ads that we get, but hey, you like singing? Start doing more lyrical songs, karaoke. Super easy. Just start learning new songs. Remember the songs that you used to sing in high school with your friends? Put those on and start singing them. I don't know, Backstreet Boys. Go for it, right? Things of that nature. Those are the things that we need to do. That's the game. Find ways to go back to that. I mean, think about the Guitar Hero Rock Band days, like things of that nature. But obviously, we're doing it from the safety of our castle. But you guys see, like, spend a little bit right now, just if you need to just make sure that your castle is safe, is ideal. Don't go crazy. You repurpose things. Like, hey, if you're going to sit a lot on a chair right now because you're going to be playing more, using your computer more to do things, get a cheap chair that's comfortable, right? You don't want to, you make sure your back is great, things of that nature, but you find used stuff, find things that are on clearance. Like they get the job done, right? Bare necessities. So once we get to that point though, pause. Find a way to just stock up frozen foods, the pantry challenge, get more cans, get pastas, rice, things of that nature. And if you need to go out to get more food, please, the government is going to find ways to help people as well. And, other companies are going to start catching on to what's happening, and they're going to start supporting people. But if you need to do deliveries, do so. But if not, you just go to the store and come back. Try to minimize your interaction with the system, with outside people. We don't know who's an illusion, who's not right now. The game is going to get, the designers are going to get mad as people stop playing it. They're going to get mad, which means that they're going to try to cause problems, or because if you cause problems, you can force someone to engage with it. But that's the whole point. We're going to shelter in place. We're going to focus on healing. We're going to focus on purging the darkness, having more light within us, creating a circle of peace, forgiving each other, getting everyone in there, be like, hey, you know what? I feel great. I don't know why I was so mad before. Stop going to work, especially that's why if you quit and you realize how much money you have or you can last, it's going to be great. But again, stop paying credit card bills. Just stop. 100%. Just stop. It'll be okay. Don't exploit it. We're not them. We're breaking the cycle. Remember that. It's not about revenge. It's about, hey, they're going to try to attack you back. It hits, you stop. You stop right there. Because you could be like, well, my credit card is a 20K limit. I'm going to max 20K, put 20K. No, don't. Don't do that. We're not looking to harm them either. But if they don't change their ways, this is the way how we do it, by saying no more. But we can't go down a path of exploitation. Okay? But if you need to survive a little longer, what can you sell? Could you message your brother or your friends and be like, hey, is there any way we could like group up and like just shelter in place together for now? Like, I can't last that long. If you can survive 2 months, imagine if everyone just can survive 2 months right now, even 1 month of not engaging with the system, the entire world will change. If everyone quits, everything has to change. Everyone, it's time. So now we have time to heal. We're away from the negative influence, specifically work, and we're getting quiet, right? Do things you enjoy. And once we're in a better state as a collective, we're going to plan our next steps. We raised our standards, and now, who knows what our new reality will be like. Now we created together, right? Now there's going to be good ethical leaders. We're no longer going to tolerate abuse. Now we're aware and we recognize toxic behavior. But please do not let yourself fall into a trap right now. Play it safe. Protect yourself. Don't get caught. Don't buy things you don't need. Don't spend more than you need. You just make sure you can survive. So where does your power lie? In speaking up, in normalizing what is going on, in quitting or leaving. You don't even have to say names. They need you and your talent more than you need them. It's time to flip the script. Think about it. No one stays at a toxic company anymore. It's human ranches. Who are they going to enslave? The end. But this only happens if you believe. It's time to believe. And healing will create opportunity. And while we're at home, in our castle in safety, and we're no longer getting negatively influenced, and we start remembering, wait a minute, I was incredible. But how do we do that? We have to become it. So how do we become it? Every day, I encourage you. We were born with a mission inside us. We knew we had a certain passion. We knew what we're capable of doing. For me, it's this. Now, for you, it might be talking about, I don't know, ethical sales or Dungeons and Dragons or video games or art, how to draw with watercolors. So if that's you, start talking about it, start streaming it, start posting content about it. Again, don't worry too much about even reading or engaging other people's. You can, but we're trying to get quiet. The most important thing is just sharing it and just creating it. Really, it's just creating it. You could honestly just record it for yourself and not even share it, and now it'd still be super impactful because it's going to be a way for you to heal and a way for you to remember who you are and what you're capable of doing. Just seriously, 0 people, 1 person, or 1 million. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter. Don't do it for the glory. Do it for yourself. Do it for the message. Do it for the long-term impact that happens in you. Because imagine if each of us do this, which is what we're going to do. Humanity is going to do this over the next 30 days. And let's say all of us heal 5 to 10%. I believe it's going to be significantly more, but let's say 5 to 10%. So if everyone healed 10%, just mathematically speaking, if we all come out of our shelters 30 days from now, wouldn't the world just be overall 10% better? Just simple math, right? It's more complicated than that, but think about it like that. You're like, wow, we could make the world 10% better in 30 days? Why don't we do that? Oh, wait, we will. That's what's happening. But it's going to be significantly more because, again, once you are away from the noise, and you realize that there's certain things and people that are literally causing, and again, work, especially if you know, literally all they try to do is cause these dark entities to be there and just constantly nudging you, causing problems. You can start, it gets quiet and you're like, wait a minute. And imagine now you're listening to voices and people that are just telling you, you're amazing, you're awesome. And now you're sharing things and you post a picture of your watercolor painting and people are like, holy crap. Someone asks, like, is that a Van Gogh painting? You're like, oh my God. And again, don't do it exclusively for the validation and glory, but I'm just painting you an example. It could happen, right? And imagine if that alone can just make you realize, wait a minute, I didn't even think this was so good. You're telling me you thought it's good? But again, share more so with the people around you if that can help you. And if they're like, wow, I never knew you were good at that. Or start cooking. And all of a sudden, everyone's starting to learn how to cook. And they're like, well, take turns. And start trying to learn how to sing together. Start learning how to dance together as a family. And all of a sudden, you make a delicious breakfast sandwich. And they're like, wow, your breakfast sandwiches are really good. And you're like, oh, wow, thank you. Do you guys see like what's going to happen? All of a sudden we come out and then people are like, whoa, the world looks really different. I mean, we haven't been outside really in 30 days. So, oh, wow. Everyone's just like smiling. People are helping each other. What is going on? It's time to say no more. Here's another example just for people to think about how easy it is for insecurity to be created. So you imagine you get your first job and it utilizes skills that you're just not good at. For example, for the longest time, I've improved on this, but I would have been a terrible server at a restaurant or even like a construction worker. Would I eventually be able to learn it and do it? Yeah. But like physical strength and like those things were just not necessarily my forte. I was much more mental and speaking. You know, it'd be easier for me to advise the construction manager on how to get the most out of his team or to tell him how to the vision. I could be almost like the architect and be like, well, this is how it is. But to actually be there and like lift the blocks and put them there, could I do it 100%? But I would most likely do a terrible job, especially at first. And then I would think there's something wrong with me because the other construction workers then laugh at me like, ha, you can't even pick up a boulder. Look at him. What if now even my friends try to positively help me? And this is where they also get you, where people get stuck. Sometimes they're like, well, a positive cannot be bad. Think about it like this. They say, no, you don't suck as a construction worker. Those other guys that laughed at you, they can't even do another job. So don't worry about it. You could just find another one. And then you pause and you're like, oh, thanks, guys. But wait, if those guys aren't skilled because they can't find another job and this is the only thing they can do, but if I can't even do something that these unskilled people can do, doesn't that... I'm worse than unskilled then. Unskilled people can do something that I can. Oh my gosh. And just like that. And insecurity is created. Now you think yourself as a failure at jobs. You suck. Now every single failure that you ever have will come back to feed that original insecurity. Like you try something, a new job, and you make a mistake at the very beginning. Because again, you try something. You remember I said pay attention to first time experiences, and you make a mistake, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, you shouldn't have done that. You should have printed it differently or do that." And all of a sudden, you're like, you remember when you were a construction worker and you failed. You guys see how easy it is, and that this insecurity was created for two things: your fellow construction workers laughing at you, and then your friends trying to help you by positively saying that. You guys see like how challenging it is to not let a problem be like that. Why do we live in that kind of system? That is why I am spending every single minute of my life now destroying that system and to create something new. Some people might call me the villain. So be it. But I'm tired. I'm tired of living in a world where we have to worry about those things. It is time to stand up together and say no more. Okay. That was good. That was good. So let's change the song. Let's talk a little bit about journeys. What have you reached your destination? Your paradise, your goal. And it was completely empty. An abandoned city. You say to your friends who went on this journey with you, there's nothing here. Where are the tall skyscrapers? The majestic views? The tranquil river? The smiling inhabitants pursuing innovation? the lively, intelligent animals coexisting with us. There's nothing at all. How can this be? We came all this way. We fought through all these challenges. This was supposed to be our salvation. This was supposed to be our new world. We were promised a promised land, paradise. Where is it? How would you react? This is the power of understanding the value of the journey, perception, learning is about consideration, not facts. Plus, what we were talking about briefly or earlier, minimalism, unplugging, and fulfillment. This might be the most important warning that I can give to everyone. We are creating a new world. A new world is being born as we speak. It is literally being created and being designed right now. Now, there's a caveat to that. The designers are trying something different this time. They're putting a lot more faith and trust in humanity as a whole. It's never happened before. Humanity was always seen as too corruptible, too naive, too foolish, too selfish, too greedy, too dark. And now that we understand the game and understand life, you realize that there are things that have been influencing humanity and affecting their free will to lead them more down that path. But that's irrelevant now. What matters is all of you, after you've done your healing journey, after you embrace light, peace, hope, love, understanding the law of one, that we are all connected, inviting everyone into your circle of peace, all of us embracing forgiveness, all of us detaching, letting go, forgiving ourselves, purging all of these old traumas to become and evolving into something new, spiritually awakening, understanding the spiritual world that it is connected with us, finally the spiritual world fully merging with our timeline and our reality. We can finally coexist with them to the point where it will become physical as well. It's going to be beautiful. The world's going to change. Yet, think of it as the Red Sea is parted, and now a bridge has been built. And we're all walking across the bridge, and there's a portal in the distance. And once we walk through that portal, we reach the new world. And that's why everyone needs to heal and embrace these mindsets. And we're elevating humanity's consciousness and who we are. And we're evolving. We're ascending. We're reaching enlightenment. Now, you don't have to become perfect or become a Zen Buddha master. That's not the point. The point is it's progression. You need to be better than you were yesterday. And if you were a bad person yesterday and you made mistakes and you were harmful and you let the dark consume you and you were one of its commanders, that's okay. It's time to start forgiving yourself, but it's time to say no more. That's why the theme of today is no more. And you need to become better starting now. You can change your path literally right now. I'm like, you know what? I never drank water before. I only drank milk. Well, starting right now, I'm going to drink water. And just like that, your entire reality can change. And just like that, if everyone started making those decisions to make better decisions, think about how impactful the entire world will be, right? It all starts individually. Everyone worries so much about other people, but if we start with ourselves, now there are certain key people in this world that unfortunately do have to worry about other people, but right now, I don't want you to focus on that. Your job is to focus on yourself. And by that, you're going to start being able to help other people from inside your castle. But you need to heal people. You need to heal people by healing yourself. So as you work on yourself and you're starting to share your knowledge and your education, make sure your circle is protected, right? We talked about that. But now you can help others because you're helping them learn from you. And as we teach and educate, we're also teaching and educating ourselves. So that is my ask to everyone. And even just by not causing harm, even by just helping the people in your circle, in your castle, loving them so much. Again, we don't understand the extent of the outside illusion. So minimize time out there. I know it's the paradox, right? How can we say that we're going to love and help humanity, but when we're outside, we're ignoring people, we're not engaging with systems? but inside we are. And from the safety of our house, it's like, hey, like if someone right now is talking to me online on the stream, like I will interact with them and I will show them love and they will show me love back. Do you guys see, like, because we understand we're protected, but still try to minimize the noise right now. The most important thing is you need to heal. You need to find a way to recover your shield, your health, purge all those things. Become more. But here's where the caveat lies. Now that you're healed, now that you become light, you that thing that, like, that's the entire time you're doing this, you're crossing the bridge. So now you go through the portal. You leave your castle. And it's like, okay, let's go to the new world, guys. And we go through the portal. What awaits us there? Boundless, limitless, beautiful freedom. Right? We're no longer going to be enslaved by the Dark One and by the dark nudges. We are going to be encouraged by light. We're going to be guided positively with love, and everyone's going to just view things in a much more great way, like optimism. We see the world for what it can be rather than what it is, what we can create, what we can do together. But here's the problem, and I need people to be prepared for this. What if we get there? Let me rephrase that. We're going to get there. Humanity will get there. We're about to get there. It's happening as we speak. But we get there and we go into it with expectations. So that's the lesson, I guess. Don't have any expectations, right? It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be great. But we can't expect anything. Because then we just leave ourselves open to disaster, to a potential fall. And a fall can, if it's not handled properly, or if you're not, aren't people around you to lift you. And once you spiritually awaken and you reconnect with your goddess, your God, your whatever you want to call it, what you're going to start to realize is that they got your back. They're going to help you when you fall. But it's dangerous. So let's lower expectations. Let's detach from things. But we need to understand that it's not, we might arrive and it might not be what we thought just yet, because it's a work in progress. So think of it like we arrive and you're like, okay, I'm ready for this incredible paradise. You said you're the shepherd and you brought us to the promised land, and you were expecting like hot girls walking around bringing you appetizers and drinks, and you could be at the beach all day and you don't have to work anymore. And maybe all those will come true, but maybe there's some things that are missing. We can't let that ruin it, because here's where the challenge lies, is that now our creators chose that it's going to be us, all of us, building it together. So that also means that some of us might not have it figured out yet. So they might start pushing for something that will lead us down a little bit of more of like a darker path, or slightly more inefficient, and who am I, right, to say what is better or worse? But you guys understand what I'm saying. My point is, we're building it together. So we might not get it right the first time, but we're getting it. Every day it's going to get a little better. Every day it's going to get a little better. So how do we protect ourselves from the disappointment? It's about understanding the value of the journey. Perception. So think of an image. Think of it like a swing. You see a swing. You see there's stars. There's a purple aurora from a solar flare. There's the moon, and there's a swing. So if everyone looked at that image or like that picture, they're going to focus on something else. So like, well, I'm focusing on the swing. I'm focusing on stars. I'm focusing on the moon, right? So you have to think about it. Like when you go through that portal to the new world, what do you see? What do you focus on? Some people see the stars, some people see the moon. But where it gets interesting is that, what if you saw, for example, the swing as a toy that brings people joy, because children play with it? But what if that swing was something else? What else could it be used for? What if I viewed that swing as a tool? What if its purpose was to teach my son how to not be afraid of speed or heights, and being willing to jump when the time is right, make the leap, and finally say no more? Do you guys see? Like, some people view it as a toy. Some people view it as a tool for the purpose. But what if you've never seen a swing at all because of where and when you grew up? Here's an example for people to get the point. Imagine if, for example, my grandma, who lived her entire 85 beautiful years of her life in a small German village near Munich. If she saw the world today, she would be so confused. She lived through 2 world wars in Germany. She got to see a very dark side of humanity, but she also got to see light prevail. And she would witness it yet again. Grandma, it's happening. Light is prevailing once again. You know, I'm extremely grateful that my parents put in the effort for me to be able to spend about a year of my life in that small village with her, to have a real relationship, to learn so much, to get different perspective, to see how people live in a farm town, who had the simple life, the minimalism. But my grandma, she never left her bubble. If I showed her what AI can do today, she would think it's the devil. By the way, it is very dangerous. Be careful with your usage of AI. It takes away your ability to have creativity, and you're giving away all your authority, and we're making it the author, the creator, the credible source, and that's extremely dangerous because the dark can literally infiltrate it and nudge you down paths through AI. Just remember that, guys. They use tools as vessels to communicate with us. Until your connection with the spiritual strengthens, then you don't need tools or crutches anymore. But for most people, the way the dark communicates is through tools. Literally, like open up your Amazon app and see the suggestions and things. That they can communicate through those things. So she would literally think that, for example, like a TV is possessed because of like the smart stuff. And I mean, now that I know what I know, my grandma actually would have been correct. Oh man. You know, she might even try to destroy it because she doesn't understand it. You know, but what if we educated her and how it actually worked on what it was? You see, like, then all of a sudden it's not that scary. It doesn't mean that it's not. Once we understand how powerful and dangerous these tools can be, we need to respect them. But we also now understand them, so the fear vanishes. You know, that's what we call perception. You know, it's all based on what's been pushing us, what we've been experiencing, what we value, right? So sometimes, especially as we are going in our castle and we're doing the great hibernation to heal, unplugging can be the solution. So humanity as a whole will be turning off their phones. We just don't need to turn off all notifications. Just make a new email. Literally make a new email. And you're just going to realize how quiet the world is. Stop engaging with all those systems. Don't even go on. Don't even look at the news. Don't even look at the social medias right now. Again, I know I'm encouraging people to share things, but it doesn't matter if other people engage it or read it. This is right now about you, about recovering, about healing. But anyway, so let's say we reached our new world, our unique paradise. And for many people, what they're going to picture when I talk about this is a monetary or an image one, because it was based on an insecurity that was created within them from noise. But so we reach this new world, and you just feel emptiness. Or maybe it's actually literally empty because it wasn't what we thought it was going to be. So now what? Are you going to be like, well, got to make more money, got to buy more things? That's a trap. Don't lose everything for money. You already did. And that changes now. We're eliminating money. We're moving to a new society, and we're figuring out that system day by day. It's getting better. We aren't there yet, but we will get there. So that's the key. We will get there. It was always about the journey, the memories. You know, today before I did this post, or before I did this recording or started this, I read these notes, and it just made me remember my journey. You know, we always had a star inside us all along. And this is what helped us find fulfillment. Discover peace in minimalism, in simplicity. Because now we have time. And it's always about the journey. Don't be silenced, guys. It's time to say no more. Just because others can't see what we see, a beautiful world, limitless possibilities, freedom, a world where we're no longer enslaved, a world where we're no longer trapped in financial prisons and all our time is taken from us. It's time to start a dance party. We're going to talk about how and why, but it's time to join in, to stand together, sing our song of hope, deliverance. We have an opportunity right now to improve things for everyone, to finally break free the shackles that are holding us back, specifically judgment and insecurity that are keeping us down. Humanity, is now finally free. Our spiritual guides, entities, our higher beings, they are free as well. We all have power. We all have worth. We finally understand that we don't have to serve some dark master. And for everyone that's an individual dark master, we all know it could be your boss, could be your sister, could be your mom, and then also a higher being. It's not about them anymore. It's about you. You're incredible. You have value. It's time for all of us to stand together and remember it. And if the person next to you is struggling, like, hey, I don't really think I'm that special, snap them out of it. Be like, you're incredible. You're amazing. And you know what? Over the next 30, 40 days, that's all we're going to work on. Spread the love. Help others. Do it. It's time. It's time. So, we're just getting started. It's time to manifest it. How? By doing it together. Do not be silence. Keep sharing your knowledge to let everyone become aware. Once everyone understands what is going on and how the world actually works. And remember, we're not worried so much about the facts. Once people start hearing this and they're like, wait a minute. Like, hold on. And like, you just start having like these moments start clicking in people's head. Like, wait, you're telling me, well, yeah, that was really weird. Like that one girl, like that happened. And then she did, could it be? And then all it takes is that like realization for people to be like, I think the world is different than I thought it was. That's all it takes. So keep speaking up, keep helping others, keep normalizing the conversation. Screw it. We will not be silenced. Why do you think they're trying to suppress? Why do you think they're trying to stop? There's a reason for that. Keep standing up to things. Keep supporting. Keep asking, why do we do it this way? Is there not a better way? There's so many ways to win, but through goodness, kindness, love, peace, forgiveness. That's the way. But the most important thing of all for this to work is to keep spreading it together. To sing as one, because we are one. And each positive change we make inside of us will radiate to other people within the same room, but also think of it like we're all just connected through like a chain in the middle. And if your chain gets better, everyone else's chain gets a little better. If that's not motivation to be better, then what is? So let's get into the nitty-gritty. Step 1, awareness. Awareness is the key. Awareness and exposure to all this knowledge. Start to leave your bubble. Again, I'm not telling you to go outside and engage with illusion, but start to leave your limited beliefs of how the world works. I'm not asking you to believe that anything I'm saying or that other people that you're going to get access to information is 100% true, but it's just you're starting to consider, be like, could it be possible that the world is different than I thought? So once we understand how things could be, what is happening, what is possible, to make it a little more grounded, think of it as like you work a sales job and all of a sudden people are like, my boss says he cares for me, but he stole my commissions. Wait, does he not care about me? I'm afraid to swim in the ocean because I almost drowned as a kid. Wait, that's normal? There's like that. I mean, you see, like once you start understanding why you do what you do, what caused it, when did it happen, who made you feel that way? Were you like that prior? Oh my God. The event was manipulated and fabricated. They made us forget. So step 2, now we start believing in ourselves and we stand together. That's what is happening right now. We're healing. So we speak up, we normalize, we call out the messed up abuses that we see, the systems that just don't make sense. Why do the Republicans and Democrats fight each other? Why aren't they working together? Why is our judicial system so corrupt? Why, like all these things. Why are we abusing Mexicans in the United States for slave labor? Like all that stuff. And then things start changing. Why is Ukraine and Russia at war? They now are at peace. You start calling all these things out, and you don't even have to name specific names because you're kind, you care. You're going to break the cycle. You will be the difference maker. You're not going to play a game of revenge. But you know what? We need to show the world that we got claws. We're not going to just stand back and sit down and take it. Remember, you are amazing. And anyone can be a hero. You can literally change the world. You, yes, you are capable of changing the world. So what are the things you enjoy or love doing? What do you nerd out about? You're good at so much. Let's get you to refocus on that and don't listen to the noise. It's not you. Look at how many people are struggling. Look at how the conversation is changing. Every single day, the world around us is changing. So, step 3, we create our new reality if we say no more collectively. If everyone starts taking action by no longer tolerating bullshit, a new reality is created. What would happen if people quit the moment they got verbally harassed or put down by their leaders, or they stood up for their coworkers? You deserve better. You are better. Share your knowledge. I promise you, so many people are going to remind you of how awesome you are. And since you believe it, why would you tolerate someone else telling you that you're bad when you know you aren't? They are manipulating you to keep you down, to control you. It's time to break free. All of us have power. We are now finally realizing it. All of us, all of humanity. And you know what happens when we refuse modern day slavery and modern day prisons? Well, we create a new world. That is what's happening. All humanity ever wanted was to be treated well, to be respected, to be understood. We all struggle because we're human. But now knowing that the fears, insecurity, the trauma, the problems, our hopes and dreams being stolen is all a manipulation and a fabrication, it's time to say no more. Our wishes, our dreams, our hopes, an opportunity for a better world, it's time to make it a reality. And those who fight for that, those who encourage that, those who do everything they can to build that new world, those are the people that humanity will choose to follow. Remember, this is how it's done. First, we remembered. Then we believed. We stood together. Dreams became reality. It's time to no longer exploit others, to overcome your demons. It's going to be different for each of us. For some people, it'll be their in-laws. For some people, it'll be their boss. For some people, it'll be the work bully. For some people, it's literally actually slavery and brutality. But it's time to stand together and eliminate the fear and the darkness once and for all. If they can't treat us for the loving, incredible beings that we are, then they're going to see what happens when we stop engaging with the system entirely and everything they know and love collapses in front of their eyes. It is time. No more exploitation. We stand together. Join the Order of Stars. Embrace it. This is the new world. Unity. Okay. So what happens when we do things together? We remember. We speak up. We normalize. All of a sudden, people aren't afraid anymore because they know that the person next door is going to do the same thing. It is that power that makes us as a collective unit completely unstoppable. Here's the key, though. Here's the key. Yes, speaking up is powerful. Yes, normalizing is extremely, extremely powerful. But we cannot revert back to how it was if all we're doing is talking about it online. We have to make them feel it. That's why I said, stop paying your credit card bills. Quit your job. Stop engaging with the system. Stop going to bars. Stop doing things of that nature. Do not do that, because if you don't make them feel it and we only talk about it, talking about it will literally make so much progress. Normalizing it, we'll be 80% of the way there. But if we don't walk it like we talk it and do the final step, be like, enough. I'm going to leave the system. I'm going to stop engaging with illusions. That's it. It's time for us to finally take the final step. As humanity unites together, we're like, that's it. It's over. We will finally manifest it by working together. We will no longer tolerate all the smoke and mirrors that happen outside and these forced fabrications and these entities and people who are literally serving them that intentionally create insecurity and fear in us. No more. It is time to say no more and dig your heels in the sand and fight back. Call it out. Point out that you think all those things are bullshit. Anything you're like, why do we have to deal with this? Why? Why do our leaders literally create all these fake scenarios to just cause us fear? Why is news just about fear? Where's the love? Why can't ads be positive stories that just remind us of our childhood? Like, then no one's going to have a problem with them because they're helpful. Why can't they teach us things through ads? That is what's going to happen. You guys see, like, it's time to raise our standards. It's time to stop tolerating bullshit. It's time to judge your back, and not with hate, not with revenge, with love, with peace. Invite them in, try to get them to heal. If they refuse, we show them what's up. Okay, well, that's the end of your company then, because we're all quitting. See ya. We are creating the new normal, and we're all healing so that we can finally live in a new world. All those bad companies, which are just literally a human ranch exploiting us, you're no longer going to be able to keep any talent. We will no longer tolerate that. We're all valuable. And now it's time for the great rebellion, the love revolution. We're all going to be good, empathetic, kind. It's time. So I linked a video of a dance party of this kid starting a dance party at a music festival. But here's the thing, on paper, this kid, you could say, was dressed by the beauty ideal standards created by society, weird. And he was doing some strange moves, let's just call it like that. But who am I to judge, right? Who am I to say that? This guy was just dancing. He was having fun. He was having a great experience. Awesome. So everyone wanted to join in with this guy dancing. But first, people were recording him because they thought he was weird. He was strange. There was something wrong with him. Look at this guy. Ha ha ha. Everyone was laughing at him. But then there was one brave soul that first joined in and started dancing with that guy. And then a second one joined in. These guys were not, quote unquote, insecure. These were the brave souls that started it. And what does starting it mean? Validating it. Unfortunately, the majority of humans need others to validate something before they feel comfortable. Some people don't. I'm one of them. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't need anyone to validate the path before me. I will walk it alone if I need to. So that's what everyone will finally realize. You don't need other people to validate it. But here's the beautiful thing. People will finally normalize and talk and validate these things. So now, spiritual awakening, talking about spirituality is the norm. It's not scary anymore. Talking about quitting your job and why are we stuck in slave labor and capitalism is literally just make up for slavery. All those things are going to be talked about. People will say, like, why are the elections the way they are? Why is the judicial system the way it is? Why are credit cards exploitative? Why is there even a war? Why are we serving our leaders when we have all the power? Literally, if all the soldiers just refuse to fight because they believe in the Christmas treaty and peace, and actually they had drinks with their fellow Ukrainians and fellow Russians, and they were like, dude, these guys are awesome. We played FIFA on the PlayStation together, soccer game, and we all got along. Like, why are we at war with them? Wait, it's because my leaders told me to hate them? I love these guys. These are awesome. They're my friends. Fuck you. I'm done. No longer fighting your war. And that's it. And all of a sudden, a few people do it, and then, oh, wait, we had the power all along? See, once enough people validate something, then everyone else is going to wait. My entire battalion just quit. They resigned. They're no longer serving in the military. Wait, I should too. You see, like, everyone has a different threshold where they feel confident enough to do so. Some people are courageous enough to do so without anyone validating it. Most people aren't, and that's okay. That's okay. But it's time. It's time to take the next step. Because guess what? Fighting back against the system, destroying the illusion, fighting for a new world, fighting for freedom, fighting for hope, fighting for love, fighting for peace, fighting for everything that we've talked about over the past few months. It all comes down to this moment. It's now cool. It's now accepted. It's now normal. It's now the good thing to do to heal, to say no more. So, what are you waiting for? Are you ready to join the dance party? It's time. It's time to stand up for our value, for our worth. We're going to take a quick break. And then we're going to start breaking down the theories of what kind of world we live in. Remember, we are one. Love you guys. Okay, we're back. Alrighty. No more Odyssey Part 3. Alrighty. Let's do this. Alrighty, and we're back. One of the most interesting and fascinating things about this world is the fact that there's so many different art forms and stories that are told. And this is my challenge to humanity. It's to start looking at art, movies, video games, especially video games, music, and start deciphering the messages and the codes that are in them. There's an extreme amount of lessons that are in these art forms that people have just brushed aside as fiction. The reality is that the majority of fiction is not fiction. The majority of fiction is not fiction. It's just people are afraid to stand up and say, this is how the world is. This is what we believe. It's hard to be one of the only people to say, well, we think based on all of our experiences that this is how the world works. But, if we say that, everyone's going to think we're crazy and, well, people might start attacking us. And yes, so yeah, let's just, let's make a movie and let's make a cartoon and say that it's just fiction. So there's a lot of different art forms that I encourage people to explore. Well, for example, one of the stories that I want to draw attention to for many people is check out the anime, check out the story of Ghost in the Shell. There's a lot of stuff in that if you start connecting the dots, you realize it's just one interpretation. But it's an interpretation that is a possibility of what's going on. And remember what I said the goal of today is just to simply say no more. Stand up, normalize things. And how does that happen? It starts by gathering all the breadcrumbs and starting piecing together and be like, wait a minute, well, actually, if that could potentially be true, I could see that as being true. Well, you see, like that's all it takes. So in Ghost in the Shell, I'm just going to talk briefly things from the intro episode, and these are just questions; they're not answers. So essentially, think of it as like there's these robot entities, these androids that operate from a mass consciousness, and there's a few that aren't part of it, and they call them the standalone complex. They operate outside of the mass consciousness, so it means they can think for themselves. They're protected. They're not fully connected and controlled. And I ask you, if that's the case in reality, are there a few people that have awoken from the enslavement of being connected to one thing that can literally brainwash everyone to think a certain way and do certain things? If they're now immune to that brainwashing and that control, what could they do if they have access to such information and they know what's happening? Could that be what is happening right now? I don't know. You guys tell me. So if something has direct access to you, could it control you? So could it make you do something that you didn't want to do? Do you guys see like how powerful that could be? For the people who are familiar with The Matrix, it was inspired by Ghost in the Shell. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But to essentially in the Ghost in the Shell, these robots, these androids, these entities can communicate with each other across time and space, but they have to plug in. And if they plug in, they have access to such communication. So if you're unplugged, then you don't. Let me ask you something. Does that remind you a little bit how we operate today? Think about the internet. Think about the internet. Think about your phones. Aren't you plugged in? Aren't you plugged in? If you have access to these devices and these technologies, aren't you connected to something that we don't really even understand? Like, what is the internet? What if the internet was like this brain that's underground under the United States, and it's just what connects all of us? Do you see what I mean? Like, you don't know. Could be. Is it? Who knows? Does it really matter? All the details? No. We understand its function. We understand its form. We might not understand everything that's happening with it and how it happens, but we can use it for good or we can use it for bad. Like every single tool and every single thing. Unfortunately, the majority of us have chosen to use the tools at our disposal for bad. But do you see what I mean, guys? Like, if you really just think about it like that, like they can communicate telepathically with each other just because they're plugged in. Then I ask you, like, I mean, you literally turn on a device, you go to like Twitch or YouTube or LinkedIn, and you click on something, or if on your phone you use your finger, and then you can literally tune into my thoughts, basically, that I'm sharing at this hour. How far away is it from the truth? So one of the scariest things about that is that there's literally these certain robots that can like go rogue or do bad things, and they're fully controlled. And I don't know, I just think about the people that are indoctrinated or brainwashed or just believe everything they read on Facebook or Instagram or Reddit. And I'm not saying that it's wrong or right. I'm just saying, like, if they don't question, they can't think critically, or they're not open minded. They can't consider and just be like, okay, well, that's interesting. It's not a fact, but I'm going to keep that in mind. Well, now you tell them to like do something bad to their neighbor. They're like, okay. But also that means that you can do the same to them the opposite way. Humans will now all love their neighbors and each other. Everyone's going to have peace. Everyone's going to be supportive. Everyone's going to be encouraging. It's going to be incredible. We're going to live in a super lovey-dovey society. You guys see, like, you can be used for both ways. Yet, for some reason, our society decided to use it in a negative way. Ask yourself, why is that the case? So in Ghost in the Shell, there are these negative entities and also positive ones. But again, it depends on what their purpose is. They have cloaking devices. So they're invisible, so they can't be seen. They can operate in the shadows. And I ask you, does that sound a little similar to what I'm talking about with the spiritual entities, the spiritual awakening? Like, we can't see them, but we know they're here with us. Are they just actually cloaked? And as we destroy the illusion and the veil lifts, will we be able to see them? In the Ghost in the Shell, they can actually connect. There's like a plug, and they can plug in into like themselves or another computer essentially, and they can see who is controlling that robot. Imagine, like, to me, like, I think it would be very interesting. Go to some of those rural towns, like in certain areas in the United States, and they're some of the most passionate supporters of certain presidents and political groups. And then I'm like, but let's say they passed away, and you could plug them in, and you're like, well, who brainwashed them this way? And you could see, like, oh my gosh, wow, they got brainwashed by like the Facebook guys and the Twitter people, and oh wow, they had a lot of Russian influence in them. You're like, oh wow, do you guys see like How far away is it from the truth? So imagine that there's in Ghost in the Shell, there's a secret group called Section 9. Think of like they're like a black ops team or like the CIA or something of that nature. And they're in charge of investigating things that shouldn't be happening or are kind of going off the rails. Like there's a planned, the government, the entity as a whole has certain visions for how things should go. And these guys literally are like the top notch. They have all the powers, all the tools, they have access to everything. I'm like, think of it. There's literally secret societies and governments or teams in our current world. And there's things that we probably don't even know. So could they be literally doing that? Could they understand, just like I do, the spiritual awakening side of things and have access to that, but yet they weaponize it and are using it for bad? Is that certainly possible? 100%. So they are in charge of making sure that info does not get out. So, for example, for myself, I'm sure many people can relate, but like think about like whistleblowers or people that talk about things that the world, for some reason, does not want being shared. If anyone has tried that, let me tell you, your information gets suppressed. All of a sudden, problems start arising out of nowhere. Really weird things start happening. So, could there be a Team 9 that exists in the real world? I think that's 100% possible. One of the things that they do is if they get captured, they shock themselves to lose their memories to protect information. So I ask you, like, for people who who know a lot, think about it, like they might try to cause an insecurity or trauma in you to make you forget certain things that they don't want getting out. Because when you get traumatized and even PTSD and things of that nature, you forget. You just forget. But also, what if you can't? It's not so easy to even though we've talked about how simple it could be to cause an insecurity in someone. What if they can't? So is that why NDAs were created? So that people are silenced. Think about it. Like, if you're not doing anything wrong, why do you need to silence people? I'm not saying that. I mean, let's be real. You don't need to be talked about all the time. There's something to be said about silence and peace and quiet. But it's like, if people talked about what I'm doing wrong, this is what I do. This is the majority of my day. So I'm like, I don't need you guys to be talking about it, but if you want to, please, right? Like, you see, like, it's so, why do companies and all these people, why are they so afraid, and why do they need NDAs? What if there is even a secret team, a secret operation that's not even known about? Right? Like, what if there is complete silence? What if there's only a select few people? What if they have access to things and information power that no one else has? Could I be one of them? I don't know. What do you guys think? Did we infiltrate? Did we gain access to something and knowledge to something that no one else was supposed to have, yet now we're disclosing it and exposing it? What do you guys think about that? Could that be possible? I don't know. You tell me. So one of their things is that they're supposed to clean up messes. And only literally the top people are aware that this team exists. Now, in the show, there is a human. He's a regular human, and he joins the team. The rest of the team are all like cyborgs, robots, or they have cyber implants. I mean, think about it, like, this is already happening in our society. Like, the people who become completely reliant on outside tools. And I mean, I think I understand, like, we have like glasses and things of that nature, but we're moving more and more toward that. And with that really suspicious obsession with moving everything toward AI, and I told you that now I know that there's dark spiritual stuff that can literally influence you and nudge you through algorithms, literally the algorithms, ads, AI, all those things, even outside illusions. So if you think about it, like, why are they trying to move us toward AI? Why are they trying to literally create clones and copies of us using our social media profiles and things of that nature and studying us and learning from us? And if you don't turn off the settings on your phone, which please turn off just turn off your phone, period. But turn off the AI learning stuff, turn off the AI assistance, because they're creating a profile on you more so than they already have. Don't make it easy for them. At least fight back. But just basically everyone's becoming reliant on these things. Aren't we then now connected to like this brain? Think of it like another brain, like for people who played Baldur's Gate 3 or Dungeons and Dragons. It's like connected to everyone, and yes, it's helping you. I'm not saying that there aren't benefits to it. I think that 100% there's benefits to every single tool, absolutely out there, right? Like, for example, I don't smoke anymore, but weed can help a lot of people who struggle to maybe break the initial trauma blocks that they have. Like, it's a tool, it's a crutch. But you will get to a point where you no longer need it. But at the beginning, maybe you've been traumatized and you're so insecure that just you do again, less is more, and you just do a minor puff, right? Like, or not, don't get too high, right? But just a little bit is enough to just change your perspective just a little bit. So you look now to the right and you can see like, oh, there's a whole new world over there. That alone can be powerful, right? So I'm not demonizing any specific tool, but AI with its current iteration and usage has become literally the easiest in of all time for the dark. You need to protect yourself. Don't, until it's reevaluated and redesigned. Currently, it's the ultimate danger because you're connecting to this central consciousness, this brain that can literally tell you anything. And you ask yourself, well, I trusted it, rewrote my thing and made it better. I'm like, did it? You believe it's better. Is it? What, you lost your voice, you lost your passion there. Now it's what it thinks it's better. What if it's slowly doing that so that now you believe it makes you think that it knows best? I'm not saying that it might not. It could be, but do you guys see, like, you start walking down a dangerous territory. And then the same thing with everything. Like, I've even talked about it with the spiritual guidance, light versus dark. Dark will tell you that it knows best. Light might actually know best. This is the truth. Like, they really do come to know you. You build a relationship. It's like you and your wife, for example, right? You guys get to know each other. You're like, hey, I know you're not really good about cleaning up the dishes while you cook, so I'll do the dishes while you're cooking. You know, you understand their weaknesses, you understand their strengths, you try to help them. So it's the same thing. But why are we exposing ourselves to such a danger without fully understanding it? We don't know that the downsides, the negatives yet. It's too early. It's in its infancy, and we've given it full connection control to our brain. Essentially, we're like plugging it in. Like, okay, AI, guys, snap out of it. Wake up. We don't know the dangers. So the reason why this human guy was recruited is because all the rest are doing that. They all rely on these cyborg implants and being a robot. And he uses the old weapons. He uses the old technology. He's protected from the current manipulations and the fabrications because he relies on the old, or he created his own things. One of the phrases that they use that I think is super interesting, but just to finish up there, it's like, there's value in using the old stuff, guys, the simple things. Do we really need all of these conveniences and technologies, especially as we move to simpler things, as we move away from a culture of consumerism and materialism, and we go to minimalism and love and hope and peace and helping each other? Do you guys see, like, it won't be as necessary to be connected, and we can still do so in short bursts, but it's now calculated and it's for specific purposes. Well, like, hey, I'm going to use my phone, but I'm going to use it to play music. And I know that's a really expensive music player, but you guys see, and maybe eventually you slowly even phase that out, and you might get a cheaper music player or something else, or not even a cheap one. You know, you guys see, like, it doesn't have to be the way it is right now. The world is changing, so we now get to write the new rules. But one of the phrases they use that I think there's benefits and negatives to it is the phrase, don't poke it if you don't know what it is. And I think it applies, for example, with AI. People have been poking it and playing with it, and we don't fully understand it. And now that you are aware of the spiritual side of the world, and you know that they can access it and input things there to communicate with you, while that does sound cool, at the same time, I ask you, like, is that actually just what AI is? Is that there is nothing there? It's just an in for entities to communicate with us. Now, that could be good, right? Like, what if we want to communicate more with the light? So we could use it for that. But knowing that it's so easy for dark to get in, Why would we risk that? A 50-50 chance. Because right now I said, okay, if you walk out your door right now, this second, there's a 50-50 chance that someone is going to stab you. Would you do it? No? Why not? 50-50 chance. Why would I risk it? I don't know. Why would you? So why do you risk it with AI? There's a lot that goes in this show, but for example, there's like this American company called the Neuron Company that developed a lot of these things for like body swapping, transferring of consciousness between people. And I believe all those things are already happening to some extent. But one of the most interesting things that they point out is that they are watching. Cameras. The bathroom is one of the safest spots, and I agree with everyone. We talked about rooms and events and how by closing doors is super important, because think of it as every single person has, I call it a game master that's involved with them, either a spiritual entity or something, but they can affect your reality and present good and bad things to you. And if you're in the same room with multiple people, that means that your reality is now being impacted by multiple game masters. They can literally affect things. So if the majority of, I would argue that the majority of people's game masters are currently enslaved to a dark god. That's the closest thing that you define it however you want. And that means that if you're in the room with people who are primarily dark, or their game master hasn't fought back and reclaimed their freedom, if you're doing good, if you're trying to heal people or educate people or do stuff like that, all of a sudden, if you're in the same room as these other people, they might start you might start feeling weird. Whereas before, when they were not there before, it was quiet, it was calm, like you felt happy. They actually might start trying to do some weird things. Pay attention. Like they might start sabotaging. They might start trying to distract you. They might start being like, "Hey man, do you want to go on a walk with me?" And then you just started streaming, and you're like, "Why, dude? I'm streaming. Why right now?" It's like, I work. I know you wanted to do more exercise. I'm like, what? Like, they don't even necessarily. It doesn't even need to be a negative. Do you guys see? Like, it could be a positive thing. Like, you want to exercise. You want to be healthy. Don't you care about your friend or your brother or your sister? Like, why don't you want to do this with me? These little guilt trips, these little jabs. Your dog all of a sudden might start barking every time you're about to start streaming or working on something. You're like, why do you do that right when I do this? Like, it doesn't make sense. You first think that it could be that he's not trained, but then you're like, wait a minute. You're literally, it's like you start paying attention, you start noticing those stuff. So don't miss out on that. Catch it. Literally, guys, the game master theory, I swear to you, it is 100% real. Now, you can define game master however you want. Like, are we video game characters, or is this simulation? Is that our god? Is that like whatever? Like, whatever makes sense to you. But just know that there's something that is influencing things. And that's why the bathroom is a safe spot. Because if you're in the bathroom and you close the door, there's no mirrors, there's no electronics, there's nothing. It's quiet. So now it's only you and your connection. So that means that you can think clearer. Doesn't mean now, I talked about it in previous recordings, but think of it like there's light and there's dark. So the more light you have in you, the more light nudges, the more you're leaning that way, the more positive things that you get presented to you. Now, I always call it the bubblegum machine analogy, where if you're 80% light and 20% dark, you have an 80% chance for when every time you put in a coin, like let's right now you open up YouTube, there's an 80% chance that this block, the suggestion on the video is going to be good, because 8 out of 10, right? But there's still a 20% chance that you're going to have dark. And dark could be literally just a suggestion like that will trigger a certain trauma, like they're trying to. It might not cause that effect on you, but that's what they're hoping, right? So think about it. Every time you open up YouTube, every time you scroll past something, there's a 20% chance that it will be something that they try to actually cause you to lead you to. And it might not even, like I said, it might not even be a terrible thing. They might just want to lead you down a dark path or something like that. They're like, oh, I know that he likes checking out girls in bikinis, so let's put one there. And you're like, it could be a good thing, right? You're like, oh, nice. But what if you click on it and now you go down a path and you were intending to start streaming and start being productive? And all of a sudden you spend 2 hours looking at girls pictures of girls rather than working on your thing. You're like, oh my gosh, it's now 6 a.m. and I didn't stream, I didn't work. Oh no. I guess I'll do it tomorrow. Do you guys see, like, it doesn't even, people are so worried about thinking that it has to be like this direct thing that says like, you suck. It doesn't even have to be that. They can literally weaponize the good things against you. Sometimes they will do literally just an overwhelming of information like, hey, I'm interested in X. Well, let me just present you 20 things all of a sudden. Now you don't know what to do. You're like, oh my God, there's so many good things. And it's really frustrating to me, actually, because they give you they give you great ideas, but now you're just overthinking things because you're like, well, that was a really good idea. And that's a really good idea. And that, do you guys see, like, the biggest way I guess I would say to differentiate between the light and the dark is light is going to want you to succeed, and light wants you to try. Light wants you to grow. Light will communicate with you to come to an understanding. And you literally think of like your relationship, like you and your girl, and you're first starting, and it's like you guys are just on the same page, trying to figure each other out. You're trying to understand each other, right? Dark is going to be like, well, this is how you need to treat me. This is who I am. And there is something to be said. This is why it's so challenging. Because as I say that, I'm like, oh, well, light is going to encourage you to stand up for yourself, right? It's like, hey, you deserve better. Don't let that happen. Like, don't just let them abuse you, you know? And I talked about it earlier, like, stand up, right? So you see, guys, why this is so hard. Like, the game of life is ridiculously challenging because not only is it up to interpretation, not only are there things that literally are influencing us and nudging us through our technology, through our tools. I call them noise vessels. And that's why you have to get quiet. That's why I'm encouraging everyone to shelter in place, to stay in place and eliminate the noise. But they can affect you negatively through positive actions. They appear positive on paper up front, but they have bad intention. They're trying to lead you down a path. Like, I guess the best example I could think of is you're outside. And like, I wanted to take a quick break. I streamed for an hour and a half. I did one recording. I'm about to start part 2, and I go outside, and all of a sudden they know that girls in yoga pants might distract me. So I was walking that way. My dog's pooping, and then I look to the right, and there's a girl in yoga pants. I'm like, oh, well, let me walk that direction. And you start walking down that direction, and now all of a sudden, like, as you do that, boom, like someone else walks by and it's like, hey, you and your dog are assholes. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, I'm sorry. And now you look up, and now the girl with the yoga pants is gone. But you just now feel bad. You're like, oh my God, are we assholes? It's like, you're always playing music late at night. Like, you're so loud. Like, I hear you. And Nick, what the fuck? How did he even know that? Who is this? Do you guys see, like, they baited you with something that you enjoy to lead you to something that can actually maybe cause you harm. And now you come back and you're like, oh, do I really, should I play music? Like, maybe I should just go to bed. I don't know. That's the reality of the world that we live in. That's the reality. Cameras, dangerous. Now, I don't want people to be terrified, because that's the opposite. Like, it's not about fear, but it's just understanding, like, if you have your microphones on, like if your phone on, and you have location and you have the camera, they can see you. They can literally flip to different cameras. Like, think of like person of interest to show or things of that nature, and they can see where you are. Most people, they don't care about you, because if you're not a person of interest, well, it's like, what? Do they really care that you're looking up old school PlayStation games again? No, that's not a threat to them. But what if you start doing things? What if you start standing up to the system? You start fighting back. All of a sudden, pay attention. Things are going to start breaking. Things are going to start getting weird. All of a sudden, your life changes. You become a person of interest. You become a POI. And thinking about cameras, thinking about microphones, thinking of that nature, just be prepared. Just know that they are watching. They are observing you. They are affecting you. And literally, there are spiritual things that we can't see, whether they're cloaked and they are just like us, but they have like Harry Potter invisibility cloak, or they're spiritual, whatever makes sense to you. I guess that's the takeaway here. Whatever makes sense to you, however you can interpret this and cipher. And that's what we're about to talk about, 3 different realities that could be the case. And none of them are wrong. None of them are right, but start piecing it together and see what you think. But I'm going to end the Ghost in the Shell with this scenario, and think about this one. And this is why I encourage you to not activate events. So there's a minister that was working with diplomatic affairs, and he stole some information that he shouldn't have gotten access to. So Team 9 discovers it, and they like quickly find him. He was literally about to go on a plane and fly to another country. They were in Japan. And the team, the secret team, catches him, and they hand him a paper. He was like truly like a powerful figure. And it says that he's being removed from his political office for a medical treatment. He's not fit to execute his duties anymore. So they forced an event on him. They basically pinned him down, and then they're like, okay, here you go. And first of all, he's like, what? I'm fine. Like, what are you talking about? They're like, no, you're not. Here it is. It says right here, and you need to sign. And then he signs, and that's that. Now he's resigned. So afterwards, the leader of the organization starts talking to his soldiers, and he's like, yep, well, at least we successfully prevented the media blitz. We prevented the police from getting there and fucking it up. You know, and then some of the team members are like, how did we manage to print out the paperwork and make that official, that order, and convince the politicians that this is the case? And they're like, well, we have the connections, we have the power. You have to always be prepared. They even successfully managed to delay a plane to prevent him from flying. Guys, this is real. This is real. Now, if it's a government organization, if it's aliens, if it's the gods, if it's spiritual entities, if it's literally all a simulation and illusion, like my point is they can fabricate events and try to cause you to go down certain paths. Do not engage with them. Do not activate them. If you literally do have no notifications, if you don't check your email, if you don't check your social media, do not comment on these things, because if you do, think of it as you're activating the event. If you open a text, think of it as you're activating the event. If you open an email, think of it as you're activating the event. If you get mail, don't even check your mail. And if you do, just put it in the trash. Don't activate it. Don't engage with it whatsoever. You literally can prevent things from happening 100% just by not engaging with it. I know it seems so crazy, but truly, if everyone started doing that, everything would break. The illusion shatters. You will be protected. And they need you to activate it. Think of it like humanity had free will. Dark wanted to find a way to bypass that. So one of their tactics is they ask for permission. They're like, well, if you don't say no, I'm definitely going to just take your AirPods. And you're like, what? And then they steal them from you, and then they don't get punished for it. Then they're like, well, it's because you didn't say no. I told you I was going to do it. That's how the world works, guys. So if they send you a mail and you open it and you engage in it, sometimes it might not activate any event, but what it could do is it creates fear and insecurity and trauma in you. And that's enough. That's enough for them. They're now happy because guess what? When you feel fear, a dark being now is attached to you, and now it can drain you. Now it can nudge you more. Has more access to the noise vessels around you, things of that nature. It's truly a terrifying, horrible loop. But now you activated something, and if you go to sleep, or think of it like this, if you go outside, like if you leave your apartment or your castle, if you're in the outside world, now you're playing in the overworld, the world narrative, the world game. It saves. Think of it like an autosave, like your Word document. Every time you like type in on something, every so often it autosaves. So now if you open that mail and you started engaging with it, and then you autosaved, or you went to sleep and you saved, that's that. Now you went down a different path. Think of like a branching path. Boom. Now that event is active. Now that event could not cause a lot of problems. It might actually be pretty harmless. But I ask you something. If you don't know what it's going to lead to, why would you risk it? Why would you risk it? Because it could cause a very, very bad negative thing to happen. And once you go down a path, unfortunately, even though I will argue that, I'm not going to say more because we don't want to give away too much, but that timelines are real. We can jump timelines. We can affect realities, things of that nature. But from all my understanding and all my studies and all of my research, we still have not discovered how to go back in time and revert something. Now, we do believe that fixing the future can change the past. But as of right now, I want everyone to operate in this game as if you activate an event and you go down these paths, that's that. Think Tenet, the finale, the ending. Whatever happens, happened. Or whatever happens, happens. That's it. You got to live with it now. So, but you can prevent it if you don't engage with it. If you don't, like, truly, if you turn off your phone and you don't talk to anyone, and like, if everyone's just stopped reading about the Ukraine and Russian war, because they're at peace, they've been at peace for a long time. The war has been over. And everyone starts believing that, and everyone starts engaging that way. And no one reads any articles that says otherwise. Well, if none of us are over there, what if it's not happening? What if it never even happened? Do you guys see, like, what if the event ceases to exist? It stops functioning. It's in no one's mind. Like, hey, Ukraine and Russia are at peace, right? As far as I know, like, man, I haven't looked at the news in 2 years. Like, wait, what? Yeah, they've been at peace for 2 years. You see how we could create our own reality? People are like, is that delusion? I'm like, well, is it? If now that you know that the outside world can be filled with illusions. So, right, like, for example, they could send you a mail right now saying that you owe a specific set of money. I think people always are like, those are scams. And I'm like, they're just not, they're poorly made. That's why you catch it. But what if I told you those scams are the game designers literally trying to bait you and manipulate you down certain dark paths? Now, they've gotten so good for some people, especially if you've upped your game, they know how good you are at catching it. They'll make it super real. I'm not saying that, and they can literally get to the point where, like, think of it like Team 9 has targeted you. Once you become a person of interest, Team 9 can target you. They literally created these papers that target this politician and got him out of office because he couldn't escape the activation of the event. So what if I'm telling you that literally? That's why if someone knocks on your door, do not open. Period. Just don't open. Because if you open and you start talking to them, you activated the event. And if they enter your house or if they enter your apartment, now they're in your reality. And remember what I said, that each person has a game master attached to them. Now they can affect things. Be extremely careful until more is understood, until we rewrite this current flawed design. That's why do not go outside and engage with events. Do not activate things. Don't go to bars. Don't do, like, if you need to buy groceries, try to do deliveries. But if you have to go to the grocery store, don't talk to other people other than the ones you absolutely have to. Just don't risk it right now. It's not worth it. Heal, focus. If you're going to engage with people, do so from a safe environment, but don't activate things. Truly, even people, like, think about it like this, guys. If you're on Reddit, each subreddit is its own room, like in a house. Got it? So, like, if you're engaging with that, like, that's its own little reality, like its own little illusion. If you're starting to engage with things, that becomes part of your reality. Think of it like you're adding it into your reality, into your game. Imagine in the beginning you have a blank slate and you're like, okay, well, you get to choose 10 doors and 10 rooms for your life right now. You're like, well, I choose the Nintendo subreddit, I choose the PlayStation subreddit, I choose soccer, I choose football, I choose coffee, and that's that. And that's now your life. That's now your illusion. That's now your reality. And you guys see how dangerous it is, and why, like, think about why so many people are doing email marketing and all these ads, and they're trying to get into you. Not even just talking about, like, the memory totem, where it's like the way you feel overall, if you're light or dark base, is based on, like, the thing about anything above the 50% mark. Every time you get a nudge, the power of suggestion, it moves to the top of the memory totem. So if they can nudge you to the dark more and more and more and more and more, they can push down all the light, which means that once you're dark, you start forgetting who you are. You don't remember. You can be just consumed by insecurity, fear, and trauma. Now they can start implanting new memories inside of you, and they can literally rewrite who you are, the person. They're basically reprogramming you. Think of it like, you're like, they have all these good programs on their computer or their phone. They have all these good apps that are helping them. Well, let's uninstall all those. Let's install bad ones. That's how it works. That's Ghost in the Shell. Do you guys see, like, is it 100% accurate? Probably not. Are they onto something? Probably, yeah. Do you guys see, like, if you start rewatching every single piece of art form, media, storylines, and you are like, wait a minute, could it? Is it? Maybe? There's something to be learned from everything. Now, don't get absolutely lost in the details and be like, well, is this 100% the truth? Take it from me. I went down that path. It's not healthy. Last thing for Ghost in the Shell. I spent way too long, but it was a good recap. It was a good catch up. Verbalization, communication, oral. Think of it as magic. When we're talking, we're using we're basically spelling things out. We're casting a spell. And people are like, wait, what? And I'm like, just think of it like this, guys. It's a transfer of information. People are like, yeah, that's no duh. But I'm like, no, truly, like think of it like we're all like a computer program. Like I'm a robot and you're a robot. Like how could we communicate to each other? Do you guys see like by talking? Some people might call it like telepathy or like, but it's words are a data transfer tool. And if we're all connected to like that central brain consciousness, well, if you say it aloud, that's why I said if microphones are a way for an in, then it has access to it. That's why don't talk about your plans unless you want them to start being able to prepare a narrative or scripts or events that they can counter it. And sometimes you can bait them. There's something to be said about that. But think about it. We live in a world where you have to be so aware of what you say and what you do. And as far as I know, if you talk out loud outside, they have access to it straight up, even without microphones. Like it's just they have access to it. So inside, you're significantly protected. Inside, they need the microphones. But if you're outside, anything you say is fair game. So these are just my understanding. I would say I would bet everything that I have, my life, my family, everything that I am correct. But that doesn't mean that I might be missing something. But I just want people to take these interpretations and consider them and just, hey, maybe you're right. Maybe I shouldn't talk about my plans as much. Hey, you know what? Maybe I have to be careful what I do say. You know, I probably shouldn't be saying those things because now they have access to that. Now they have information that they wouldn't normally have had. And I guess the biggest takeaway I would have for people is that, you know, first of all, silence, quiet is powerful. Writing things down, handwritten on paper, extremely powerful as well because you know that they don't like, again, digital, we don't know how deep it goes. If you write it down on paper, you're much more protected and it can remind you of something that you thought of or maybe a good thing if you go back. But these are just some things to think about, guys. Oh my. Well, that was powerful. I went down a rabbit hole. But I'm glad I did. You know, one of the things that one of the challenging things for this upcoming period of time in humanity's history is that we're united. We're now finally realizing that we are one. We're connected in more ways than one. But how do you unite both the light and the dark? I've tried extremely hard to make peace with both sides. And because now I consider myself something entirely different, something new, something in the middle. But I lean to the light because what you're going to realize is you can't fear the dark. You can't love the light. You have to respect both. But there's going to be a side that resonates more with you, that makes you feel better. And I would argue and bet that the majority of people, if not everyone, will feel at their best if they truly do embrace the light, because it's about love, it's about hope, it's about peace, it's about calm, it's about supporting, it's about making you evolve into something better. There's just something fascinating about humanity. Like when you feel the love, when you are healing, when you have hope, it just, everything changes. There's positive energy. While as dark is just, but dark motivations, light actions. I've talked a lot about that, but that's really the key. It's like it can get you to a state where you can accomplish things that you never would have accomplished otherwise. So like there's utility in the dark, and sometimes you need to channel it. But overall, is its goal is to exploit people, to drain their energy, to manipulate. And even if you're winning and it's only you, but think about how many people you destroyed for that. I promise you, if you reach the same state of winning by helping and loving people versus doing it the dark way, you just feel completely different. But my struggle was I tried to make peace with both. I tried to unite both. I tried to bring them both together. And in doing so, what I was realizing is that I was actually alienating both. It took me a long time to catch on. And it made me realize that I do need to focus more on one side than the other. And like I said, I've chosen light, but I haven't given up dark. On the contrary, I've mastered it, I've controlled it, and it still tries to sneak up on me sometimes a little bit too much, which is okay. But I no longer fear it. I embrace it. I use it for good. Like I said, dark motivations. And this is, again, I now understood that before I tried to convert. And I do believe that that's the end goal in the sense of it's not necessarily changing who you are, but it's just like opening your eyes to what could be, right? Like I'm telling you, like I opened my eyes to not fearing dark. And my challenge is to all those people who currently serve the dark one. And if you come on, like you're exploiting people. And if you're hurting people, if you're just trying to care about money, if you just all that stuff. People know. And my challenge to you is if you're enslaved, if you're trapped, if they have something that they're holding over you to try to make you do these bad things, and they did it to me. The sad thing is that eventually you just realize because of the game that we're stuck in, you're going to have to detach from things. I guess that's the takeaway here. You're going to have to detach from things, and they might be the things that you love the most. But as long as they can use them against you, they can control you. Now, if you can detach from them, they have nothing against you anymore, which means that, well, then you don't have to be their slave. You don't have to serve the dark one. You don't have to do what your CEO tells you to do. You don't have to exploit your customer. You can stand up to them and say, no more. And that's the theme of today, right? No more. So that's my challenge to all of you who are serving the dark one, or all of you who are participating in companies, human ranches that are exploiting people, slavery. Speak up, stand up. Today's your chance. We welcome you. The light, we welcome you. We, of course, aren't going to be oblivious to the damage you've caused. Of course not. But we forgive you. We understand why you did what you did. You come to this side. Let's work together. All we care about, because I have a lot of people that are standing with me. We are not alone. Both physical and spiritual. Higher powers. We forgive you. We want to heal you. We want to help you. And if you're not ready yet, that's fine. But all we ask is just stop causing harm. You don't even have to do anything. Just stop causing harm. Come here. You'll get to join us in the new world. And guess what? With your talent, because you're amazing, you have perspectives and strength and skill sets that the light doesn't have. And that's exactly what we need, because remember, we're building something together. So you've learned so much going down the path that you did. It's going to be exactly the balance that we need to make something beautiful. Because if everyone just views it in one way, then we're going to get stuck. And it might create something great, but we're going to be blindsided. If something goes wrong, then we're done. So we need your perspective. All the people who they're like, but I've done so much bad. I'm like, yes, but that's okay. Just be better now. Stop hurting people. Stop exploiting people. Let's be better now. And as we move to the new world, as we are creating it, we need your perspective. We need your knowledge. You have insight that is super valuable. Before I was like, they need to become light. And I'm like, all you need to do is stop what you're doing. Stop harming. You don't need to become this you don't have to do what I'm doing, which is literally trying to show people how to become one, how to embrace love, basically the agape, Jesus Christ approach of just love unconditionally, sacrificial love. You don't have to become that. You can strive toward it. But what I do need from you, what I'm asking you, what my prayer is, what my oath is, what my wish is that you just become better now. We just need to be better. We need to give others hope. And then just as long if you stop the damage and causing fear and insecurities and traumas and just exploiting people for their money, and you stop engaging with the game and the illusion, just doing that alone would literally cause such profound impact and good to the world. Think about it. You just stopping what you're doing would literally be so beneficial to the world. And now I'm telling you, if you struggle to help other people, just retreat into your castle, make it amazing, and just focus on you right now. I know you struggle to help others. That's okay. We'll get there. Just focus on you. Heal yourself, heal your family, your pets, your wife, whatever you have like at home. Take care of them. And you will be a hero beyond imagination. Truly. So think about that. Before I would have been trying like, no, 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 we gotta get dark completely over here to the light. And no, if you guys just even get to the neutral point, you're a hero. You know, it's the beginning of a new era, new terms, out with the old. You're no longer afraid to be seen as dark. We know what our intentions are. We know what our mission is. It doesn't matter if we're right or wrong. We believe in building a new world, and that is what is happening. We're bringing down those people who are ruining it, who are destroying it, who literally, all those examples I just talked about, I'm like, why do we want to live in a world where we have to literally be always protecting ourselves, second guessing ourselves, being like, wait, are they trying to bait me right now? Like, enough of that. Enough of that. It's time. It's time for all of us to rise, to be reborn as the phoenixes that we are, to shine, join the order of stars, and become a warrior of light, of hope. It is time. Something to think about when people start evaluating the whole concept of spirituality and gods and things of that nature is just picture a celebrity, a singer, or a big CEO of a tech company. There's many people that treat them as gods, as that they're an extension of their identity. And I ask you, why would you give up that level of power and agency? Doesn't mean that you can't be inspired by them. That's the key. Be inspired by others, but always make it your own. Be your own self. Once you get to a certain level of enlightenment, if you listen to everything that I've talked about, and I'm going to release the video soon, but if you rewatch my streams and my recordings, one of the biggest things that I talk about is once you reach a certain level of enlightenment, you can learn from anything. But back in the day, I used to listen to so many other people's voices. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? We're learning. But the majority of people, when they're talking about certain topics, they regurgitate quotes and things that other people said. They're like, well, Crowley talks about this in Dilemma. And you're like, well, okay, but what do you believe? They're like, well, Crowley said, no. I'm like, no, what do you, well, Crowley, I'm like, dude, are you Crowley? Do you guys see, like, you get to a point though where it's like, oh, well, what do you believe about spirituality and, you know, magic and the occult and or light and hope and like you get if you get to a point where you can talk about those things yourself and you have your own opinion, you have your own methods, you don't rely on any rituals, you don't rely on any tools, you can just communicate with what people would call the Holy Spirit on your own terms, on your own dime. And that's the level that we all need to strive for, because that's how we develop as humanity, that's how we evolve, that's how we grow. So that's the era that we're moving toward. Don't give up your power to these people. Don't let them become your God. Alrighty. We're just going to take a quick pee break and then we'll be right back. 5 minutes. All right, we need to not get lost. All right, we're back. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna stop. We're gonna stop for now. We're gonna start streaming later today, again, just to make sure that we can give it our all. We didn't end up getting to the topics we all wanted to, but sometimes we can't plan everything exactly the way we intended. But that's the beauty of it. We got a powerful message out, and tomorrow later we have some really important topics to discuss. I think we brought up enough questions to make people start figuring things out. And one second. Remember, guys, we're one. This is my wish to know more, to finally saying no more. That's our lesson for today, guys. Finally stand up, fight back to creating a new reality. Peace.